are facing the restriction from the side of Chinese government without any good reason, but it also happened. It's always happening since 2010. These reasons now have nothing to do with trade or economy.
Hello and welcome to this session on Japan. We couldn't be having it at a more interesting moment. An election has just been called in Japan and we have an incredible panel to discuss everything Japanese today. I'm Gideon Rachman, Chief Foreign Affairs Commentator of the Financial Times, and I'll be moderating today's session. We're absolutely delighted to have with us the Minister of Finance of Japan, Minister Katayama, who is here, I think, in Europe probably for less than 48 hours. So we're really privileged to have you here to explain what the Takaichi government is doing. Thank you very much for setting that out. And you're obviously explaining a lot of things that you intend to inject new dynamism, new hope into the Japanese economy. But it also sounds quite expensive, some of it. You know, there's a lot of spending involved also on defense, I gather, in the new geopolitical environment, which I'll ask Kevin about in a minute. Some bond investors seem to be a bit nervous. I was just talking to some Japanese finance people. They say that the bond yield in Tokyo is going up. What do you have to say to people who are worried, particularly in the bond market, about the implications for Japan's debt?
Yes. Since last October, since I assumed my post, I have been continuously talking with financial sector, pension, insurance, and all the institutional investors that we keep on going with sustainability of our public finances. And in the formulation of the last two economic package, we could have kept our dependency ratio upon GDP lower than the previous one. That is incredible, but that was feasible because tax revenue increased. And our dependency ratio upon debt is as low as 24%. It's 10% lower than it used to be. And our this year's public expense ratio onto our nominal GDP is by far the lowest among G7 countries. So that's the result. So we are trying to keep the sustainability.
So you
along with we are increasing spending.
Yeah, and you're confident that what growth will make up for will generate enough revenue to make all this possible?
Yes. We firmly believe in we should sharply move from the extensive cost-cut economy toward a vital boosting investment economy, and it will bring about more tax revenue and more consumption, and that will have a virtuous cycle of economy.
Okay, final question for you before I turn to the rest of the panel. As you look at the Japanese economy in this new geopolitical situation and also massive technological change, AI and so on, what do you see as the sectors where Japan can really excel?
Yeah, we have already designated 17 fields, including AI, AI-related robotics, physical AI, semiconductor, fusion, quantum, and maritime, and defense, and what else? All major fields of which we can say that will do also good to not only to Japanese economy but also Japanese national security or future resilience. So that's why we are called these investments, not only growth strategy but also crisis management.
Okay, well, you mentioned national security, and Kevin, this is an issue you've followed from a kind of slightly critical friend. Minister, I'd like to give you a chance to respond. Do you think it's fair to say that Japan is still, in some respects, a slightly closed society and that you need to do more to open up, or is that a misunderstanding? Yeah,
Japanese economy is, I honestly think it's a relatively open one, but the hesitation of, for example, testing of pharmaceutical is not coming from that we are close. But Japanese people have a tendency not to cooperate with that kind of testing. So we increased our R&D budget by a great deal last year, supplementary budget, and this year. That will try to put many research and development as many as possible into domestic field, but we let that field of your field as legal exemption because we are in short of that. But this is true that research and development is essential in many fields, and as pharmaceutical sector, let's say 10 or 20 years, they were aiming for a bigger business. But after all, most of our big pharmaceutical companies finally had an alliance, capital alliance with big worldwide spreading companies. And now they all come to see me because last year was a battle year of medical and pharmaceutical budgets. And that is a tendency to be lowered by Trump administration. So they came to ask me to stop that lowering. We cannot bear anymore. That kind of difficulty is always rising in the sector. It's particular because in Japan, it's universal health coverage, but right. In United States, it's not. And U.S. government is trying to minimize the expense onto that compensation for American people. And some are aiming for more universal. So that is a big social and political problem that we have to think about it.
Very interesting, yeah. And in fact, I think that pressure from the Trump administration on pharmaceuticals points to a broader issue for Japan, actually for all countries in the world, but we're talking about Japan, which is that the United States is a less reliable partner, I think we can say. I mean, that it has imposed tariffs on Japan, its close ally, that it is demanding massive Japanese investment in the United States. And at the same time, your other major trading partner, as Kevin was saying, very difficult relationship with China, just got a bit more difficult. I gather the Chinese, when I was last in Tokyo, it was full of Chinese tourists, and now I'm told they've been told not to come and things like that. So how do you, as one of the world's largest economy, but not a superpower, navigate this new geopolitical environment and run an economy when you have both the US and China putting different forms of pressure on you?
Mr. Lashman, it's a very good question and always posed to us. We are between United States and China for long years, and we can't move geopolitically. And we did have a war with both of them. Yeah. We know both of them very, very well. So finally, we had the only national security treaty with the United States. The United States is the only ally in this field. And even last week, I was in Washington, D.C., and my friend Scott Bassett was organizing a G7 critical mineral meeting. It was very successful. And on that sense, we are facing the restriction from the side of Chinese government without any good reason. But it also happened. It's always happening since 2010. These reasons now nothing to do with trade or economy, just for another reason. But wherever it happens, United States and our ally in G7 are always of our helps. And Japan is the only country which have seat in G7, and it's been 50 years. We have the only country in Asia who have a complete free currency. So that's my answer. We, geopolitically, we are always trying to be in our best position.
I want to give the audience a chance to ask some questions in a second, but a last one for the Minister.
Yeah.
Prime Minister Takaichi is the first female Prime Minister of Japan, and you are the first female Finance Minister.
Yes.
And I remember, in previous Japan sessions during the Abe period, there was a lot of talk about womenomics. Are we now actually seeing it in action, that Japan is mobilizing its female talent, really? And is that part of your pitch going into this election?
Of course, it's always part of our pitch. And also, we are trying to protect and reinforce what Mr. Morita has said. This is the force of our industry in the super high-tech area. Only Japan can do that. And also, a sort of financial technology which are coming. Maybe Japan could be a little bit advanced in the coming digitalization of finance and coming cryptocurrency utilization, because we are still on the level of testing, even in the United States. But Japan is the first country to introduce legislation onto that. I had a talk with Scott on this matter too, and maybe in the near future, in a very near future, there will be a stable coin market exchange between dollar and yen, and maybe a little better with euro. This kind of new proposition can be posed from Japanese side because Japan is Japan. So it's not only women mix, but we would like to take advantage of what we are, like these two gentlemen mentioned kindly to us.
Okay, excellent. Let me see, is there any questions from the audience? Anybody like to ask a question to the panel? Yeah, I see a hand over there. Microphone for you. If you could identify who you are as well, that was always helpful.
Hi, I'm Ian Lindsay, advisor to the Prime Minister of Bahrain and a former British diplomat in Tokyo. My question really is to Satsuki Daijin. Yes. The debate on immigration in Japan. This has been ongoing for quite a while. Japan's rate of immigration is very low compared to the OECD. Foreign residents only represent 3% of Japan's population. OECD average is 15%. Clearly, we've already had references to Japan's aging population, and that's one of the reasons why foreign workers have been brought in. But that has caused something of a backlash. The governors of all the prefectures have just issued a statement talking for a rational debate on immigration. Minister, how can we see this going forward? Does Japan need more foreign workers? And if not, why not?
Thank you very much for the question. This is a hotly discussed matter. Maybe in coming election, that will be one of the matter between us and the proposition. But we all say, our LDP party says that we are in a position to welcome those who are good to us in any sense. Good friends coming in, and those who did something wrong or illegal should left. But we couldn't reinforce the latter in real stages. That's why we have a certain voluminous population illegally came into Japan and staying. And that will increase the Japanese feeling of uncertainty in that particular area. That really happened. So we changed the mode of our driver license, a mode of a new coming in businessman visa. It was very, very cheap compared to your country. We raised it to the international level. That's what we are doing. But that is true that Japanese culture is a very, very special one. And I was in France for 2 years, and I remember the day, I was under Mitterrand administration. They tried to assimilate all people coming from their ex-colonies. Ex-colonies means they speak French perfectly. But even that, there was a strong negative feeling among Parisian or French people, different culture. So we also feel different culture because the ratio of foreigner attained 3%. And in some area, it's very tensioned なんだっけ、集中してる。So concentrated. The ratio is higher. And so we would like to ease these uncertainty, and we would like to welcome those good people and not bad.
So
the rule is very clear.
Just to summarize, do you expect overall numbers of immigrants to rise gradually or to come down a bit now?
We are not very sure of the percentage, but we are not imagining that situation where our society will be like European countries. That is very different.
Sure. Yeah, it's a sign of a great session that I've 100 follow-up questions I would like to ask, but we actually only have 20 seconds left, so I'm afraid we're going to have to call a day. But I'd just like to thank particularly the Minister for taking time at such a busy time in Japan. We really appreciate it, and also to the panel for a really lively and interesting discussion. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. ありがとうございました。